control the vertical.
Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Anthologic is a podcast dedicated to exploring the good, the bad, and the odd of horror, science fiction, and the best of mystery suspense anthology shows and series on TV. Join me as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. And now we go on to the show that is the focus of this particular episode. Welcome to this episode of Anthologic with your host, Mark. Today I'm talking about an episode of The Outer Limits called The Guests. Now, this is Season 1, Episode 26. I really like this one. It was very solid. I have no memory of it, and I'm sure I've watched every episode of The Outer Limits, but you know what? I really liked it. It had elements of The Old Dark House, the old movie The Old Dark House. It was a gothic drama in many respects. It goes along grounds we've seen before, people trapped in a sort of location, sort of having to deal with it, that kind of thing. It was apparently based on an outline by Charles Beaumont, Charles Beaumont wrote many memorable Twilight Zone episodes, but apparently he had early onset Alzheimer's at this point, so it was actually taken from some of his ideas, and apparently there was only one central idea he had that was actually used in this, which was the idea of a large brain sitting on the side of a hill, and they use that imagery here quite well, which then transforms into a house, so you get the idea that the house is a disguise. It is a house, but there's something else going on. But apart from that, it was all the work of a writer called Donald S. Sanford who presented this, and it was so well written it didn't need any rewrites, which is going to be interesting. It was directed by Paul Stanley, who went on to direct lots of TV stuff quite into the late 70s, I think, like episodes of The $6 Million Man, that kind of thing. So he was around for a long time. It first aired on March 23rd, 1964. The main actor, the most protagonist, is played by Jeffrey Horn. Now, this guy, I thought I recognised. I've seen this guy in westerns or something, but you know what? I couldn't find much on his credits, but he was pretty striking. The one person I did recognise for sure was Gloria Graham, who was in this. Gloria Graham, probably famous for In a Lonely Place, famous for in Oklahoma, the girl that sings I'm Just a Girl That Can't Say No, that one. That's Gloria Graham. She's got a very distinctive look, and she was in some noirs, and this sort of gothic noir theme, these people stuck in this house, really works well. Her character is basically an actress who fell out of favour when the talkies came along. Her voice didn't quite work. She claims it's studio politics, but she's got a touch of the Norma Desmond from Sunset Boulevard. They're definitely channeling that in this episode, and she's also got a touch of the Blanche Dubois. She's kind of vulnerable and sort of relies on the kindness of strangers, as it were. Apparently this was first written to possibly be in Boris Karloff's anthology series Thriller, but for whatever reason it ended up here, and from what I've read, its kind of feel is very much like Thriller. I've only seen one episode of Thriller. I quite liked it, but I can't really comment on that because I haven't seen enough to be informed. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't written for Thriller. My mistake. I have read in several places that it kind of has got the same feel as Thriller, though. But the writer, Donald Sanford, did script for Thriller. That's what I should have said. So kind of interesting. So this apparently the original sort of script or Charles Burnham's story was called An Ordinary Town, but they got adapted to the guest. Essentially, these people are trapped in this house with this alien who is observing them and trying to work out human emotions, and he won't let them leave. If they do, they're kept artificially young or at the age they're at while in the house. And it starts with the angry young man, Wade, coming across this old man kind of dying in the road. And he finds like a locket on the man or a watch, but there's a picture of a beautiful young girl in it. So he goes up to the house to try and seek help, but they're basically not that bothered. All they want to know is how old was he, and things like that. And he says, "What does it matter? We got to help him." And it turns out, then he recognises the girl. We get a really good turn from an actress called Nellie Burt here, who's this harrying woman. Basically, she's criticising everyone and nagging everyone. She's kind of fun. Again, she reminds me of the old lady in the old dark house. There was some of that. And this is a fun episode. I feel it properly embraces the gothic. It kind of mixes up gothic romance with this psychedelic, weird sort of discussions with a big brain who's talking about it wants emotions, and it seems to be like an emotion vampire almost, in that it wants to try and understand what emotions are about, and it's obsessed with it, and that's what its mission is. Wade has to deal with this, but in effect he falls in love with the young girl who's called Luana, played by Teresa Ames, and through their love, basically there's an element of sacrifice in it. I won't spoil it very much, not entirely, but there's an element of self-sacrifice here, which apparently fills out what the brain creature needs to understand humans. And at the end, it decides it's got enough info and disappears, takes the house with it. And the screaming occupants, and there's a really striking shot of them all sitting around playing cards board. Suddenly the lights go out and they look up and they realise the end is nigh, and they all start screaming. In many respects, it reminded me a bit of the Rocky Horror Show, and I think the Rocky Horror Show is borrowing some elements from this as well as many others. Being stuck in a house, and then the house, well, in Rocky Horror it blasts off as a spaceship, right? But in this, it kind of disappears, but it could have been thrown up into it. Now, this is another reason this is an unusual one. I did mention the script was so good that it needed very little rewrites, if any. Therefore, it didn't go through the usual process of most episodes. And for that reason, the showrunner Joseph Stefano, forgot to add the voice control stuff, because he was so used to doing it in the later stages of rewriting, once he knew what it was going to be about, that it just never got to happen. So this is one episode where there's no voice control, apart from the usual intro and outro kind of stuff, but nothing specific for this episode. So kind of interesting. Overall, I really, really enjoyed this episode. I think it was a very, very solid episode. Might be one of my favourites, actually. I mean, you're never going to be there's Misfits and stuff like that, but I really like this. The actor, as I say, he kind of seemed recognisable. He kind of reminded me a bit of Jeffrey Hunter. I think that probably is what it is, and I kind of was mixing him up with Jeffrey Hunter as well. But the whole cast was solid. I thought the acting was very, very solid throughout. And the brain voice was properly overacted. It was kind of a lot of fun as well. It was properly mad 50s sci-fi talking brain voice. It was, I mean, they do that in The Simpsons, right? In Futurama, right? You're kind of getting that kind of vibe. I can't recommend this one enough. This very, very, very enjoyable. If you can catch it sometime, try and catch the guests. So that winds this one up. But before I go, may I ask, is anybody out there?
I'm not.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to